Recording? Yes.
Did it?
Yes, up in the top left-hand corner. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March, wow, time flies, meeting of the Traffic and Transportation Committee of Bronx Community Board 8. I am Kelly Buford. I am the chair of the Traffic and Transportation Committee. In the room with me are Chris Calhoun, Ingrid De Leon, and Mary Ellen Gibbs, and Farah Rubin, who is the district manager. Okay, perfect. I was just getting ready to say we needed to table some things because we didn't have a quorum. So now we have quorum.
Sylvia said she'll be here as well.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for your time this evening. We have a party agenda, and I know that many people on the call are here to listen to the DDC presentation. We also have New York State DOT here to provide us with some updates on the project on Henry Hudson Parkway. And so therefore, I'm going to ask that everyone please be mindful of time. We would like to end no later than 9 o'clock. And when people are given the floor to speak, we are going to ask that you limit your comments to 2 minutes, and then we will move on to the next speaker. If someone has already raised your issue, we do want to hear from you, but we would ask in the interest of time that you email your comments to the office so that there is an official record of your comment, and that therefore we can move forward and get out of here in a timely manner. With that being said, I would offer a few comments. I recognize to the community that there are a number of notices that go out. They are routinely posted to the social media platforms and distributed to the community of various informational items, and I encourage you all to look for that information and share it with your neighbors, and encourage your neighbors to actually sign up to receive the information firsthand. I see that we have Councilman Dinowitz on the call.
Hi, it's actually Jenna.
Hi, Jenna. How are you?
Jennifer Dinowitz is Chief of Staff. I'm good. I hope you all are great. I'm here to just listen, and if you do have any questions, you can ask them. I'm here until it's over.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Jenna. Let me know when you've calmed down, and then we can go. Okay.
My ears still work.
I know. Okay.
I may perspire, but my ears still work.
Okay. So we do with the arrival of committee member David Gelman, we do have quorum, so we can move forward with the first item on the agenda, which is actually the third item, but the first approval item on the agenda, which is the approval of the committee meeting minutes of February 15th. As I shared with the committee earlier, there were some friendly amendments that were made to the minutes. Does anyone have any objections to the friendly amendments? Okay. Hearing no objections, then the minutes as presented are deemed approved. Farah, I will send you the revised copy tomorrow morning, okay? So you can post it on the website. We now can move forward with the update from New York State DOT on the Henry Hudson Parkway project, and Susan McClellan, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here on the call with you. I'm Susan McClellan, New York State DOT. I'm the regional construction engineer. I'm here to provide an update for the ongoing Henry Hudson Parkway Wall project. This project is ongoing. The intent, and it's still on schedule to be completed sometime in September in the early fall. There were some questions I received to the office that I wanted to speak about or touch on. With MTA's request, there was a request from MTA to add some asphalt for the bus stop along Independence Drive. That was handled by the contractor. The one item of work that this contractor is still procuring is a solar panel lamp to attach to one of the light posts to give additional light to the bus stop. He's still procuring that material. It was a little bit of a process since we're looking for a specific solar panel since we can't tap into the Con Edison lines. Because we wanted to do this work quickly, that would have been the easiest way than involving Con Ed and DSL to do this work. The next item was regarding the overpass. I know everyone was concerned about the stone cladding on the overpass at 232nd Street. There's no work will be done to the overpass. The work is to the wall along the Henry Hudson Parkway. So there should be no stone cladding touched to the overpass. And if the contractor does touch or move any stones to the overpass, he will certainly have to restore anything that happens to the overpass, since that is not part of the scope of this project. Regarding the sidewalk, there's one sidewalk on 232nd Street that is right now closed and being used with a city permit for a storage area. This is a heavy construction that the contractor is doing. There is very limited space for what he's doing on the Henry Hudson Parkway. You'll notice his work, how he's staging the area. He already encroached as much as he can on the service road. He has quite a bit of material that's needed. It's very difficult for him to maneuver. So for the safety of the working conditions and the safety of the site, the contractor is using that sidewalk, and that really is needed for this heavy construction. And that really is the update that I have at this time. If you have any questions.
Yes, Ms. McClellan, this is David Gilman. It's been brought to DOT's attention 2 or 3 times before. What we're talking about at 232 and the overpass and the stone cladding has nothing to do with the overpass. It never has. It is referring to the stonework that you're doing on the retaining walls on the side at the overpass. Nothing at all to do with the steel span going from east to west, but rather the north-south walls that you folks are replacing. That's what we're looking for to make sure that it adheres to the designation of the Henry Hudson Parkway as a scenic highway of New York State. So I believe it was brought to DOT's attention again last month, but to be sure, we would like to know what you're going to do when you are doing the porging, I think it's called, on the final surface of the north-south walls at the overpass. If you are going to make them comply with the stone cladding of the historic parkway.
So I must have been misinformed from the last or taken some poor notes, and I apologize for that. So let me just get my notes clear. What you're asking for is not the overpass itself. You're asking for the abutment walls that are on the Henry Hudson Parkway. I will have to be clear.
Yeah, to be clear, no, not the steel bridge that is the overpass, but rather the vertical walls that you have taken apart because they probably were caving in, and you are replacing them with other poured concrete, etc. But this is at the location of the overpass, but not the overpass itself.
Okay, so let me just clarify. The vertical walls of the bridge have not been compromised, and we are not touching the vertical walls or any part of the bridge. What we are touching We're not touching.
Let me say let me try to be more clear. There is a green steel bridge, that is the overpass, from east to west. What you're working on is the retaining walls that support it, that go north and south. They are a whitish concrete. You have jackhammered them quite a bit because apparently there were some strength issues, which, makes sense after a couple of decades. And you are now in the process of rebuilding those vertical walls, at least on the west side. I don't know if you have future plans for the east side, but at least on the west side, you've got some tiebacks that you've drilled into the wall, and I gather you will be filling in with concrete the remainder to create the vertical walls on that side of the parkway.
So just to be clear, there are two walls that we're talking about. There's a wall that's north of the bridge being 232nd Street, and there's a wall south of the bridge. So there are two independent walls, and then there is a bridge and an abutment, which is what the bridge is seated on. The abutment, which is underneath the bridge, is not part of the wall, and we are not doing anything to the wall, to that part of the bridge. That's what's supporting the bridge, and we're not doing anything to it. What we are working on is the wall to the north and to the south. So right now, there's very active work, and there's rebar and tiebacks. Soon you'll be seeing concrete go in. It's a very active right now for the wall, but at the bridge, and that includes the wall, the abutment, which supports the bridge, we are not doing anything to. There was never an
I
issue
understand.
with that bridge. So north
I am
and
referring
south of the
to
bridge, my understanding is that we're replacing in kind.
I think I know where the confusion was. Originally, I think the engineers had said that they were gonna work on the bridge also, and we had said that we wanted the stones put back on the bridge if it was worked on. Yeah.
I'm out.
I have the floor.
I'm sorry.
I have the floor, thank you, I didn't
sorry.
interrupt you. Because originally they said that they were gonna work on the bridge, and we said we wanted the stones put back if it was, so that was
Right.
probably
So,
the confusion.
the good news is that there is no, to my knowledge, the bridge is in good condition. We are not touching the bridge. The only problem was with the wall that we're working on, and that's where we are rehabilitating it. The wall on the other side of the expressway is in fine condition. Of course, we are monitoring that as well, but there has been no issue with that one.
If I may, yes, you're right. You have done, I believe, are not planning on doing any work to the bridge, or as you refer to it, the abutment immediately underneath the steelwork. What we're referring to is the vertical wall on the west side, north of the bridge and south of the bridge, but not underneath the bridge in any shape,
Correct.
way or form. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Rosemary Ginty?
Thank you. I want to address your comments on the 232nd Street Bridge, the sidewalk at the southern end. Everything you said today is what you said at the last meeting. That you were going to talk to the contractor, and the answer you're getting back is the contractor is doing heavy construction work and needs a place for his equipment. Let me state again, that sidewalk is, and I ask people on this committee who have seen the sidewalk to speak up, and don't make it seem like I'm making the story up. I sent pictures to people. You have seen what that sidewalk is. More than half of it is empty. It has been for months empty. Number two, there is a tarp thrown over something. A small, it's maybe 3 feet wide and 4 feet tall. The tarp is covered with dust, which means it has been like that for months. Nobody knows what's under there. Nobody is using it. Then there are some barrels, which quite frankly, there are more barrels in my neighborhood than are probably in garages throughout DOT, okay? Those barrels can be stored any place until they're needed, and why they be needed is beyond me, because we are pickled with barrels already. This sidewalk is not being used for construction equipment. It is not being used for anything that remotely resembles construction material. This is a pedestrian safety issue. This sidewalk has been closed 4 months since the beginning of the project. It is not being used to the detriment of pedestrians. I mentioned last time during the snow, you could see where people are walking in the street. It is the quickest way to get from one side of the highway to the other, to get from the bus stop to the west side of the highway, all the neighborhoods on the west side. Again, this is a pedestrian safety issue, and I urge this committee to write a letter or to pass a resolution asking that the sidewalk be open for pedestrian safety purposes until it is necessary for construction equipment, which I do not believe it is. It hasn't been used from the opening for that purpose. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Calhoun?
Rosemary, before you jumped in, I wanted to say something about this because I have seen this firsthand. I'm in total agreement. There cones sitting, I've never seen so many cones in my life. Everything's just sitting there. This is a major thoroughfare to PS 24. I'm going to date myself now because this was the name of the school when I went there. Junior High School 141. The library, Seton Park, it's just, everyone's crushed onto one sidewalk. You go there in the morning and yes, I concur with you. People are forced out on the street, and everything's sitting on the south side of that 232nd Street overpass. It's just sitting desolate and not used. What I don't understand is why can't this be in some sort of storage facility somewhere, and when it's needed, then bring it out? But I don't know. I'm not in construction, and that's it. But you're forcing everyone onto one. You got to see people. They're in the exactly what you just said. They're in the street, and somebody's going to get hit. That's all.
David Gowan.
I drive a bike by there all the time. I do believe that there are other locations such as that which is barricaded off between the service road and the what's left of the retaining wall and down below, both north and south of 232. But also you could probably put it, you know, if you just need to store the barrels, which apparently have not really been used and may not be used, you know, except sporadically for several weeks, why not place it, say, underneath the footbridge, which is 3 blocks north? Because there is a spot of grass, and forgive me that you might be killing some grass, but for a couple of weeks we can deal with it. But underneath the overpass on both the west side and the east side, you could easily store those barrels. And Chris and Rosemary are quite right. That is a safety issue that I believe trumps, for lack of a better word, the convenience factor of having the barrels in the vicinity, you know, immediate vicinity, which really don't appear to be needed that often. And if not, you got a lot of trucks there to, you know, go the 3 blocks and pick them up and bring them back to where they are needed.
I hear your concerns. I will speak with the contractor and the project team tomorrow to see where we can better store some material. I do know that the contractor is fighting for space all along. There have been concerns on where his trucks are. We can't create any hazardous conditions for the motorists as well. or the entrance to the roadway. I know there've been concerns about blocking site distances, so we'll have to take a look, and hopefully we can find somewhere more appropriate that can work for everyone. I will speak with the project team tomorrow, as I said.
Thank you, and perhaps, one of the things they can do is park their cars a little further away from the work site so that the materials can be stored where they're parking their cars and the workers can actually walk to the work site. That may be a resolution.
I will discuss this all tomorrow with the team.
Thank you. In the interim, I will work with the office to memorialize this, and send a letter over to DDC expressing the community's concerns. DOT.
Yeah.
DOT, I'm sorry, DOT, the community's concerns.
That's next on the menu.
And we will also reference this in the minutes, and we can adopt a resolution, to have DOT, New York State DOT, because there are two DOTs on the call now. New York State DOT move their equipment, from 232 in the essence of safety. Okay, you two are having a sidebar. Did you hear what I just asked?
Yes, I did.
Okay, with the, does anyone have any objection to the resolution? as
Not at all.
presented?
Not at all.
Do we have to vote? No?
I was asking if you had an objection, was the vote.
Just asking. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Ms. McClellan. We'll be in touch, and I look forward to hearing your, update, by next, week this time. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have, representatives from New York City Department of Design and Construction to speak to the safety improvement plans for West 254th Street. Who is driving the
Hello.
bus for DDC?
Hi there. It's
Hi,
Maria.
Maria.
Hi. Oh, I don't know. It's like I'm in the darkness
Are
all
you,
of a sudden.
it's okay.
Got that mysterious look about you.
Yes, yes.
So we do have our team here of DDC. We have a full complement of DOT, DEP, all of the agencies involved in this project. And I'd like to just get straight to the presentation. We have some design consultants who will be leading the presentation, and myself and another person from DDC will also be tagging in and out of the presentation as well for tonight. Thank you for having us. It's all yours, Parsons.
Thank you for, joining us. Wing Sung, are you presenting now?
Yes, I'm presenting, but I'm having some technical difficulties. It's saying that the host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yeah, we're gonna do it
Again.
Hold on. Make sure
Thanks.
the arrow,
I got it. Come, please. Thank you.
Wing, did you, receive the transfer?
Yep, I got it. Let me try to share. Bear with me. First time using Zoom. All right.
You're lucky.
You guys, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me make it full screen. Excuse me. Oops.
Mariella, can you?
You might want to swap your screens. if
Is
you
it better?
can.
Is it
Yep,
better now?
that's better. Yep, that's better. Thank you.
All
All
right.
yours.
All right, let's start. All right. Good evening, all. My name is Wing Sung, and I'm from Parsons Transportation Group. I am the DDC design consultant. And tonight, myself and a few others will be presenting this project, the Northwest Bronx School Safety Improvements, on the behalf of the DDC, the City DOT, and the New York City DEP. Just brief overview of the content that we'll be presenting tonight. Basically, first we'll go over some of the project background, the existing conditions of the project locations, and then also some of the temporary safety improvements that were recently implemented. And then from there, we'll move on to presenting the capital improvements and also talk about some of the challenges that are involved in the design. And then from there, we'll discuss the tentative project schedule. And then from there, we'll move on to providing some information about the community outreach. And then finally, we will discuss some of the street acquisitions that's required for this project. So basically, this project is a capital project that's under the DOT school safety program, which deals with street improvements near school. So for this project, the intent is to improve the pedestrian safety and the accessibility to 2 schools in the Northwest Bronx area. The first school is the Salentar Akiba Riverdale Academy, also known as the SAR Academy, on West 254th Street. And the second school is the Judith K. Weiss Woodlawn School, PS 19, on East 237th Street. But for tonight's presentation, we will focus on location 1, which is West 254th Street, and it's also in Community Board 8. All right. So a little bit the background in about West 254th Street. It is basically the main street for students to access the SAR Academy, as well as commuter access to the nearby Metro North Riverdale train station. So between Railroad Terrace and Arlington Avenue, which is the project limits of this for this location, the roadway is currently not built to DOT's safety and accessibility standards, along with missing sidewalks and curbing, which basically forces pedestrians to walk on the roadway. And the little sidewalk that's existing already basically lacks ADA compliance. Also, the roadway, as you see in these pictures, they're in very poor condition. The surfaces are basically exhibiting rutting, cracking, and even potholes. And then also the steep vertical grades, along with the curved horizontal geometry, particularly at Sycamore Avenue and Independence, it creates a very poor sight distance for drivers. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, West 254th Street is the main access for the SAR Academy and the Metro North Station. So there is a regular passage of school buses and also the MTA Hudson Rail Link shuttles that uses this corridor, which also reduces the pedestrian experience as they have to walk on the roadway with these buses. So in late 2023, what the DOT did was implement the temporary improvements to basically improve the pedestrian experience along West 254th Street from Railroad Terrace to Arlington Avenue. And some of these improvements include a continuous at-grade sidewalk along the north side of West 254th with the flexible delineators, as you see in these pictures, to clearly define the pedestrian space. And then not only that, the city DOT converted 2 intersections, which is Sycamore Avenue and Independence Avenue at West 254th, to always stop control intersections. And they also implemented new crosswalks to access the school. And then, so usually infrastructure work and utility work is usually included in these DOT school safety capital projects. So It was basically determined that the existing conditions of the water mains and the sewers along West 254th Streets were showing signs of aging, and basically some are even undersized for today's use. So these water mains and sewers will require replacements and upgrades. And we'll talk more about that later. So here's now we're going to move on to the proposed improvements. So what we have here is a rendering of the capital improvements at the intersection of West 254th Street and Independence Avenue, which is also the entrance to the SAR Academy. The proposed capital improvements will include grade separated sidewalks, ADA compliant pedestrian ramps at all corners. We will also reconstruct the roadway to a good state of repair. And then we'll also introduce streetscape amenities such as street trees and planting strips, and then as well as upgrade the infrastructure such as street lighting and signs. And to the next slide, this is basically a plan view of the improvements. It's showing that we will be introducing a continuous sidewalk along the north and the south side of West 254th to basically allow for a safe continuous pedestrian path to this to the SAR Academy and as well as the Metro North Station. And then also the existing traffic configuration will basically be preserved. It's going to be the same as what it is, which is a one-way westbound operation between Railroad Terrace and Palisade Avenue, and then it's going to be two-way and two-way operations between Palisades and Arlington. So as mentioned before, the existing sewers and the water mains are showing signs of aging and or either undersized and will require upgrade. So the rendering on the top right, the blue indicates the new water mains that will be installed, and the red indicates the new sewers. Basically, yeah, the water main is basically being replaced and also upsized between Railroad Terrace to Palisades Avenue, and also between Independence and Riverdale. And then the red, which is the new sewer, is being proposed starting from just east of Rivercrest Road or going west towards Palisades Avenue. And then also you see a little additional sewer work that will be done on Palisades Avenue, which is not really in the project limits, but that piece of sewer has to get replaced as well and upsized. And then also to help improve the drainage, we will be proposing new catch basins and also introducing some green infrastructure practices throughout the project limits to basically to improve the drainage. And then now I will be transferring this over to my to Hao Liu to discuss some of the challenges for this project.
Thank you, Wayne. Good evening, everyone. My name is Hao Liu from Parsons. I'm the design consultant for DDC. I'm going to share with the community some significant design challenges we faced during the project. Firstly, DEP has recently requested sewer upgrades, including the installation of new sewer on West 254th Street from Palisade Avenue to east of River Road, as well as the replacement of the sewer on Palisade Avenue, just like Wayne mentioned. This means our design team needs to revise the highway construction and the utility plans to accommodate these alterations, and at the same time to meet project schedule. Also, the project triggers the DEP Unified Stormwater Rule, due to the disturbance of over 1 acre of soil, which involves roadway and sidewalk reconstruction, sewer and water main work. To meet the requirement of the unified stormwater rule, we need to implement specific measures, including preparation of post-construction stormwater mitigation practice that describes permanent measures to capture and treat runoff from the developed site, stormwater pollution prevention plan, erosion and sediment control plan that describes methods for controlling runoff during construction. These steps are important for managing stormwater runoff, reducing puddles and ponds, preventing pollution, and ensuring the long-term sustainability and resilience of our community infrastructure. Then there is the challenge of relocating underground and overhead utilities to accommodate proposed improvements. We are coordinating closely with the private utility companies like Con Edison, Verizon ECS, and Altis for utility protection, support, and relocation. This coordination is essential to integrate utilities with the upgraded infrastructure while minimizing disruption to the community. Another design challenge is the project's adjacency to the Metro North train station. As Wayne just noted, West 254th Street serves as a primary access route to the Riverdale station. We'll work with MTA Metro North to mitigate potential impacts on commuter traffic and the station accessibility, minimize the interruption during the construction stage. We're also working closely with the New York City DOT to address various issues, from relocating light poles to keeping roadway open and ensuring access to school and residential properties during construction. Additional challenges include mitigating geometry constraints for the installation of ADA compliant pad jumps and addressing steep roadway alignment. Street parking will be restricted on West 254th Street from Railroad Terrace to Arlington Avenue to accommodate the new sidewalks. We understand the street parking is convenient for many of us. However, the continuous sidewalks will ensure the safety of everyone in our community, especially pedestrians and school children. These new sidewalks will provide a designated and a safe space for people to walk, jog, and enjoy our neighborhood without the fear of oncoming vehicles. Also, we recognize the significance of preserving the Riverdale Historic District. Our team is working with the Landmark Preservation Commission to ensure that any proposed changes align with the preservation guidelines. For the community, efforts will be made to minimize the need for land acquisition wherever possible. Special attention will be given to mitigating impacts to encroachments on both sides of the West 254th Street. Our team will assess the layout and alignment to identify opportunities for minimizing disruptions to existing properties. Also, design details are also being prepared to provide a smooth transition from reconstructed roadway to residence driveways, pathways, walkways, and entrances. Additionally, some existing trees will be removed to make way for the new sidewalks and sewer replacement. We all know that street trees provide shade and beauty to our neighborhood. Every effort has been made to minimize the impact on our greenery. New trees will be planted wherever feasible. We're currently developing the tree mitigation and the planting plans. Once completed, we'll share them with the community. Next one. As we outline the project schedule, it is important to keep in mind that estimated timelines are tentative as a moving target and subject to adjustments because the project is still in the design phase, where various factors may influence the timeline. Here is the overview of the schedule. The project team deliver presentations to the communities and other stakeholders throughout March and April. We aim to complete 40% design by May and 75% design by September. The final design is scheduled for completion and approval by December. Land acquisition and community outreach is planned to start in fall this year. Bid advertisement is anticipated in January with the bid opening in February 2025. Our goal is to award the contract in August 2025 with construction to start in late fall of the same year. As mentioned, this schedule is tentative and we will keep the community informed of any updates as the project progresses. Now I'll hand over the presentation to Maria from DDC to talk about community outreach. Thank you.
Hello, hi, Maria Centeno from DDC. So obviously, my Office of Community Outreach Notification, we work very closely with many different stakeholders within the community, and we'll continue to do so throughout this project. We also will assign a dedicated on-site community construction liaison who will keep the community informed, attend and community board meetings to update the community, as well as to be on site and available for the community in case there are any concerns or inquiries or any resolutions that may be need to be coordinated throughout the course of construction. They don't usually come on board until about the pre-construction phase. So as soon as they're available, obviously we will come back to the community and we will present then and also introduce who the community construction liaison will be for this project. Next slide, please. Of course, this is not your first project here in Community Board 8, but obviously the CCL is the first point of contact. As I mentioned, they have on-site communication. They handle day-to-day communication of keeping the community informed, identifying, proactively any issues before they become an issue, ideally. But they also, have a lot of different tools in their toolbox to keep the community informed. We have a lot of different outreach materials that we share that will keep you informed. And obviously, the most important thing is notification. So when we're shutting down water, if we're impacting traffic, anything of that nature, we will provide a 72-hour as well as a 24-hour confirmation or cancellation with our advisories. In addition to that, we have a weekly bulletin that's shared on a Friday afternoon, highlighting the upcoming work for the following week. In addition to that, we also have a newsletter. Next slide, please. We also have a newsletter that we share quarterly with the community, highlighting not just the work that has been completed with progress photos, but also highlighting the upcoming work for the following quarter. So again, we try to give as much advance notification, and then, we introduce the project with a project information card with basic information, and everything that goes out will have the CCL's contact information available. So we can't always accommodate, we try, but we are definitely very responsive and very accessible to the community if anything arises. Next, please. Next slide. Yes, and so now I'm going to hand this over to our Public Acquisitions Unit, Luann, Director Luann Murray. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. My name is Luann Murray. I'm the Director of Property Acquisition Unit for DDC. So basically, there is street acquisition that is needed for this project in order to accommodate the street reconstructions or new sidewalk. I don't want to get too technical into it, but so here we have 2 blocks of street. The city will be acquiring West 254th Street from Palisade Avenue to Independence Avenue, and portions of lot that are on block 5949, lots 265, 268, and 271. The street bed acquisition is needed to construct new street alignment beyond the existing roadway curves and sidewalk. Portions of lot and private improvements. Private improvements are basically, it could be wall, fences, shrubs that have been installed outside of the property line. They become encroachments once the city takes ownership to the street. So the reason why we need to acquire the street, that's in order to remove these encroachments, in order to reconstruct our sidewalks. So the color coded there basically just shows that the yellow portion of the street is a public street. It's not a city-owned street. There is no portions of lot taking there. If there are encroachments that needs to be removed, they will be removed within that block. The streets are shaded in green. That is basically a city-owned street. We're not acquiring that street bed. However, if you see the 2 red strips that are on the side of that at Independence Avenue, that is at the street winding line, and that runs through portions of private lot, and we will be acquiring portions of those lot. Next slide, please. So here is the acquisition milestones, and they are subject to change as well, based on because the project's still in design. We have a project community outreach set for around September or fall of 2024. The community outreach will go out to all the adjacent property owners that are along the street acquisition. We want to be out there only because they will be receiving, this is a legal process, and they will be receiving a lot of legal notices from the city law department. So it would be a more detailed outreach, explaining the process, the durations, what will be impacted on their lot, especially for lots that we are taking portions of lot of, or whether there are improvements, whether it be walls, shrubs, or anything that would need to be removed. We will explain why it's need to be removed and how they will be compensated for. So that's a much more detailed outreach. After the outreach, when the community has a better understanding of the process, we are required to do a public hearing. Basically, the city is condemning the streets. As part of the condemnation law, we have to conduct a public hearing with a stenographer, where we explain the project, the process, and then it's open for the property owners to voice their concern and record it. Once we have the hearing, we will take those concerns back. We will assess them and assess them with our design and see what we can, what we can accommodate. Once we have done the determinations and findings of it, we will publish a notice out on the paper. And that will be completed around April of 2025. By the end of that year, we anticipate the process to go to court. The law department will go to court, basically just to acquire the street. There will be court notices that will be sent out to all the adjacent property owners, and that's why we will have a much more extensive outreach beforehand. We don't want them to be concerned that, I mean, it's a scariness. It looks like the city's condemning properties, but it's not. It's basically because they're adjacent to the street that we are condemning, and they're getting notified of it. Once we have a court hearing and the judge signs off on it, we anticipate the city to take title to the streets around March of 2026. Once the city takes title, we do have a private appraiser that goes around and assess the any encroachments that are within the acquisition limit. They will appraise the encroachments at their depreciated values or portions of lot at the market value, and any affected property owners that are with portions of lot taking or encroachment that need to be removed, they will be justly compensated for. I wanted to also state that the legal process is quite long. However, in order for us to keep the project on schedule, we anticipate construction to start in 2025, but the acquisition process will continue during the construction of the project. And we anticipate the completion of the acquisition, the compensations, around August of 2026. Next slide, please. So these are basically frequent questions that we get regarding the street acquisition. So when the time comes, again, we'll have a more detailed presentation to all of our affected homeowners. Their questions will most likely be, will the city condemn my property or lot? We do not condemn entire lots. We only condemn portions of lot that has a street widening line that runs through them. Does the acquisition process affect certain property? How does it affect certain properties, right? So if we are taking portions of lot, their lots will be adjusted accordingly. It might be a little smaller. It might affect their taxes and whatnot, but that is will be accomplished through the city law department. Any streets that we are any properties that we are not taking portions of lot of, they will not be affected. How does street reconstruction and street acquisition affect the property improvements or fixtures? Again, if there are improvements that are outside of their property lines and within the acquisition limit, they will be properly appraised for at their depreciated value, and they will be justly compensated for. Let me see. How will property owners be compensated for portions of lot or taking and removal of encroachments? Portions of lot, again, is we appreciate it at a fair market value at the time that the city takes ownership of it. Encroachments, so not all improvements will be affected by the constructions. If we find that we can leave the improvement in place, we will do that. They may be compensated for it. However, with improvements that we definitely know that will need to be removed, they will be compensated. And then below is our contact information for my project coordinator, his email and telephone number. We also have a website later on where we will put up the acquisition maps, other presentations and information concerning the street acquisition. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luann. I think at this time, we want to thank everyone for their patience. I know it was a lengthy presentation, but we wanted to be as informative as possible, even at this early stage. And if you have questions, we're here to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any community board member have a question?
I just have a statement, and I think it was actually, it was a very good presentation. Maria, you look like you're in an MTV music video. Just going to say that on the outset. Okay, we're gonna go from there. I think the woman's name was Miss Liu. Something that kind of concerns me is Riverdale is a very picturesque section of our city, and these old trees mean a lot to this community. And I know you said some might need to be arbored or whatever, and then new trees will go in their place. I'll never see them grow to that size again.
Excuse me one second. We can't hear you two, so can you limit your discussion?
Well, I'm not going to do this again. Forget it.
Thank you. Go ahead, Chris.
Where should I start?
Trees. You were talking about the big, beautiful trees.
Oh, the trees, they're very important. I mean, that's what makes Riverdale, and it makes it a unique part of this city. And I think it was Miss Liu in her presentation said, yes, some will be replaced and whatever. I'll never see them to grow to this grandeur in time. And it's something that makes that section of this community great. It goes right down to Wave Hill and everything. And I don't know what's going to have to go, what's going to stay, but that's my big concern. I do agree with other things. The roadway needs to be done, blah, 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 blah. Some people might not agree with me on that, but yes, I understand that. But trees are a big thing to me, and that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for the concern. Yeah, we totally understand. We're currently working on the tree mitigation and the planting plans, and also gonna submit the plan to DPR, get their feedback, trying to minimize the impact for the tree removal, and also at the same time to plant the new trees on the sidewalk wherever feasible. Why some of the trees need to be removed, because a few trees it's very close to the back of the sidewalk, and to protect the pedestrian safety, those trees has to be removed. The other location is on Palisade Avenue. Because of the sewer replacement, there's gonna be a trench to install the sewer. Some of the trees kind of have conflict with the trench. So as I mentioned, when we prepare the plan, we're gonna try every effort to protect the existing trees and try not to remove them. But some of them, we may have to take them away.
Yeah, we're going to work closely with the Parks Department and coordinate. And obviously, we'll come back to you with what that tree plan looks like.
I can appreciate that. I also wanted to say that it's very hard to get a city tree. And I got to tell you, from my experience, people in this community board, when somebody gets a tree planted in front of their house, we take care of it. We just do. Other places in the city, you look at a thing, oh, that's not going to make it. It's just not going to make it. And we really love our trees up here. That's why we have the second biggest park in the Bronx, Van Cortlandt. We love our parks, we love our trees. And I'm going to get off my soapbox now, and that's it.
Thank you. David Gelman.
Yes, 3 things. One, this has been brought to my attention by people who do walk along 254, mostly to the train, including members of our board. What you've done with the sidewalk delineators is a very good thing to make drivers aware that there's a sidewalk there that people will be walking on. The problem is that they're so nicely spaced that some drivers think, oh good, this is a place where I can park. And they will pull up onto the pseudo sidewalk that you've delineated, and that forces the walkers out into the roadway. So I think there's a need to rethink how you're delineating, maybe with lots of delineators, I don't know, but something to take care of that. Secondly, and this is something that's been a very big concern of mine for a very long time, the sidewalk in front of SAR on 254, between Independence Avenue and down to Sycamore Avenue, it has a very steep decline with a very sharp turn. I think there's a very strong need for consideration of not just a raised sidewalk, which you have, which is very good, but some sort of protector. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, but I can easily envision some icy February morning where somebody is going a little too fast toward the train because they're in a rush and they go down the hill and they spin out and take out 3, 4, 5 people on the sidewalk. So that curved section there on 254 between Independence and Sycamore, I think you need to think about how to protect the pedestrians on the sidewalk. And just one question, when you say sewers on 254 and on Palisade Avenue, are you referring to street water flow or sewage from homes, or is it combined? I have no idea.
It's combined.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions in the room? Sylvia, do you have a question?
Sylvia, you have any questions?
Oh, I'll take that as a no.
Deep in thought.
No, Mary Ellen.
I'm not doing
Have any
it.
questions?
Rodney Greenwald?
If
Mr.
you have any
Greenwald?
questions, ask now.
Were there
Yeah,
any
can you hear me?
questions in the chat? I don't
Yes,
know.
we can, thank you.
Yeah, so I guess I have a couple of questions, and then I also want to agree with the gentleman who said about you've created a sidewalk area, but especially between Sycamore and Railroad Terrace, cars park in there every single day. So you actually haven't helped the safety of the community because cars are blocking the sidewalk walking area. Yeah, I think a quick fix for that would be if you just added some stanchions to the entrance instead of just along the line of the delineating the road to the sidewalk. If you put it to the entrance and the exit of the openings, that would be a quick fix. But anyway, I have a question. From the map, it was difficult to tell. So are you planning between Palisade Avenue and Railroad Terrace? Are you planning on taking out any trees or taking any land from those houses, or is the roads, are the sidewalks on the north side going to go into the existing street?
Can you put the map back up? If possible.
Wing can co-host again.
Where?
Wing is a
Wing Song is the co-host.
Ryan, can you put the map back up? Let's-
Make him a co-host.
We're talking about this proposed map or the acquisition map?
If you could put the acquisition map, because I think we only have.
Yeah, the acquisition map doesn't show anything between.
It doesn't show, okay.
Yeah.
If it doesn't show on the acquisition map, then we are not taking any land there. It could be is because it's that street might have been already city property.
We're talking
City-owned.
about West 254th, right?
Right.
West 254th
Not
between
the side
Palisade and
streets. We're not talking about the side streets in
it's
between.
the one-way part. It's the one-way part of the
Yeah.
West 254th. So is it because it's one way, you have enough room, you're going to put the sidewalks in the existing road? On the north side? There's already a
And
sidewalk
so
on the
on the
south
north
side.
side, well, I don't have the plan in front of me at the moment, but all I know, all I remember is that there's going to be some driveway transitions for the houses there. I think there will be 1 or 2 tree removals. I just have to, if I can stop
Well, there-
sharing,
I mean, there- I mean,
stop
there's
sharing.
lots of
We're
trees.
currently still working on the
Yeah,
tree
yeah.
mitigation and planning plans. And once it is completed, we're gonna share that with the community along with the mass mailing #1.
Okay.
So you're saying that you think you may have to take out 1 or 2 trees, but you don't think you'll take out land? That's confusing because the land is on the trees are on the land.
Can someone from DDC,
Need a bigger map.
respond? And then, Mr. Greenwald, that will be your last question, please, in the interest of time.
That's fine.
Thank you. Sasha? Can you unmute yourself, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Great. Wonderful, thanks. Appreciate the presentation and all the details. I also have a question on the street acquisition map. I just wanted to better understand it. There were areas in red along the streets. I just want to make sure that those are the areas where there's an intent to acquire land, and when there is no red, then we can infer that there is an intent to acquire the land there.
Can somebody put the map, that acquisition map back on so it's easier for me?
I think the map he's talking about is the sewers, the new sewers versus the water main.
No,
No, sorry. It was
the street acquisition map,
Oh, the
right?
street
slide
acquisition
16.
map. Okay. Got it,
Yeah.
got it. Okay.
Wayne, can you please project the slides?
Oh, I'm not sharing anymore. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was not sharing. Oh, okay. Give me 1 second. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Okay, so the yellow street itself is it's just a public street. It's not a city-owned street. Whatever is, I put the red around it is we are acquiring, the red is the acquisition line. We are acquiring that whole street there, right? There are no portions of lot taking on that street in the yellow. The green shaded area is city-owned, is city title. We are not acquiring that street because we already own it. However, if you see the 2 red strip to the north and the south, where those Z's are, that is the street widening line that runs through those portions of lot above and below. We are acquiring strips of those lots on both sides in order to accommodate the back of sidewalk. So on top of that, in that little more detail lot, kind of like a snapshot, so the red lines, the little red rectangles is the acquisition limit. The blue dash line is the property line, right? It kind of extends past the street wide. It goes right into our little red strip, which is
Right.
where we're acquiring. You see the green lines that kind of like it's within
Yep.
yeah. So that green line is basically where the back of sidewalk, the new back of sidewalk would be. So we need to acquire portions of those lots in order to accommodate the new sidewalk, and whatever encroachments or improvements are in that. It's on both sides, and so portions of lots are only on that street. We're not acquiring any other street on this project.
Got it. I appreciate it. Thanks. And so there's an intent to keep two-way traffic and sidewalks on both sides of the street with the existing limits. It just seems difficult.
So
Yes, we're gonna. Oh,
okay.
I was.
Go
Yeah,
ahead, design. Go, please.
Oh, yeah, yes. So, yeah, so we're basically maintaining the existing traffic configuration. There's going to be 12-foot travel lanes in each direction and approximately 5 to 8 foot sidewalks on each side.
Got it. Is the upshot then that there will not be street parking?
Yeah, there's no street parking.
Okay. I think that's an important point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Last question.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I mean,
Steve.
I think we did list some challenges. There's some slides that talk about challenges. So we did try to be as transparent as possible. But again, you know, we're in the early stage of design. And so as things develop, we can always, you know, follow up.
Thank you, Maria. Steve Fruit.
I just wanted to ask, I know that the design has been drawn, but no cement has been poured. And I'm wondering if there are places, and perhaps all along the roadway, where it might be possible to only install a single sidewalk. In fact, I mean, let me just ask the question about whether it's possible, you know, as often as possible to have a single sidewalk, even if that sidewalk at certain points might need to alternate. But ideally, you'd have a sidewalk on one side of the road, and that would be sufficient, you know, to handle, we're just talking about pedestrian traffic. It's not Grand Central, even though it's a well-used street, you know, at rush hours. So I'm just wondering if that can be considered. And the reason for it is, you know, is kind of obvious. One is somebody mentioned that, you know, the natural features, the character of the neighborhood. Part of that is the absence, in large part, in many places, of sidewalks. And obviously, it impacts whether trees would have to be removed, because it's the sidewalks that we're often talking about, maybe in some instances digging a trench for sewer. But so I'm just wondering if that's a possibility, because I think it would do the trick. It would suffice to handle the traffic and protect the pedestrians. But anyway, that's my question. And obviously, this is something that needs to be considered at the beginning of the process, not later on. Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback. And this is why we're meeting early. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary Ginty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make a point, and if I'm incorrect, I know someone from DDC will correct me, but I think it's important for people to understand, and this is the way I understand it. Your acquisition maps, the yellow and the green, those are legal maps. They're legal. The dedicated land is a dedicated street. The green is title vested. It has nothing to do with what exists there today. They're title vested. I see what additional property you want to acquire, but that green space title vested has nothing to do with what exists there today. Okay, this does not mean that you will not be, and I don't mean this term legally, taking property. You will be taking property in not in the legal sense, but in order to use your title vested rights to put in the sidewalks and the street you want to do. So that's an important input. That green space is not what exists today. That's what's title vested. So my question is, and I hope that tell me if I'm incorrect in that, but my question is, if you walk to the Hudson from Henry Hudson Parkway, you will walk by properties where there are trees and bushes and beautiful gardens and stone walls. It's an incredible walk down to the Hudson River. Much of that sits on title vested property. You will be taking it, not in a legal sense, but in a real sense of it won't exist anymore. So, and I'm not saying don't do it, but when will the community know? When will the properties know what must go from what exists there today? What must go? What stone walls must be knocked down? What trees, what bushes, what gardens? When? Will it be at 40% design, 75% design? At what point will that be known?
Can we go back to the timeline map? Would that help, Luann?
No.
No?
I don't know why that would, just when will we know? You have, you said you had, where is the design? You had 40% design in May, 75% in, oh, there you go. Okay, that's it. So at which point in design will people know what exists there today will be gone? Understanding that it's on title vested property. I understand that. That's why the title acquisition map it's not misleading. It's absolutely correct. But what people view walking down that street, they think what the street is what the street is. It's not, right? The title vested property goes on to what people think is private property, but it's not. So when will it be known when that stuff has to go? At 40% design, at 75% design? I'm repeating myself.
Luann, are you there? So I know she did say that there's notification that goes out even prior to when they have their outreach acquisition meeting, which is when they are prepared to meet with all of the homeowners. We usually have a meeting somewhere nearby. We invite the affected homeowners to come. We do another presentation. We walk them through. We have folks there with plans that can walk through each property owner as to exactly how their property may or may not be impacted or to what extent. So I know at that time, they're usually prepared to speak on specifics. And she did say fall, right? Was that correct?
Maria. If you look at the other timeline, she has it mentioned there.
She has it mentioned. Where is that?
Yes, the blue arrow.
Go back to the other one. That's the first one that I was no. That
right. One. Okay.
So that's the first one I wanted to look at. So where is it? September? No.
The project community outreach, which is before the public hearing, is usually when Luann and they will go out to the public, identifying, showing them what will be happening on each property.
Yeah, that's what I said. So
that's usually when she does that.
Sorry, just want to highlight that Luann is she's muted. That's why we can't hear what she's saying.
Oh, Luann, you're muted.
I am so sorry.
Oh my God. I'm over here like, why isn't she talking?
I'm so sorry. I thought I was on the whole time. Oh, I understand. I completely understand what she's saying about the other things that are already.
And we may have misspoken, so please correct this.
No, you haven't. That you have that. Yeah, you haven't. So I understand what she's saying about the other street that has been title vested way back. And people, some people who, new owners to the area might not understand that they, because it was title vested a certain date and improvement might have been done or improvement that was there in the past. And they would think that, I mean, private improvement, not road improvement, that they would think that it's still their part of their property. So, the design, we have to wait until we have a clear design, which is around 75%. And that we have sufficient design that it's not going to change, and then we're comfortable with. At the same time, we do have an environmental study going on that is required for the acquisition process. And we want the environmental study to be close to completion or at completion, which is an environmental neg day, right? So we can't do it before the environmental assessment has been completed. So that's why we have it scheduled around the fall of 2024 at 75% design. And we don't want to have it too early in advance of the public hearing because we don't want our community to forget. So we want it close to the public hearing enough that they can transition from knowing the information to understanding why we're doing it at the public hearing. At the community outreach, we do it in person, both ways. It's a hybrid, right? We do it online at the same time we're there in person in the evening, and we have workshop where we have the design plans out and the legal acquisition map. What I show you is just my markup. With the map itself, it's not done yet. So we are there on site with the community, and we will have workshop stations where any property owners that are there, we will have a one-on-one interface and just explain it to them. I know it's hard for them to look at our plan, but we will try our best to explain to them where the lines are, where the streets, where the cities has ownership, where their property lines are, what improvements or what portion of land will be impacted, and how extensive it is based on our design. So we are very transparent, and we do our best to ensure that our homeowners are aware of what is being impacted, and that they will be prepared. Prior to our shoveling ground and construction activities, we give them, we have on site CCL, we have our construction personnel, and they will coordinate with each individual property owners one-on-one prior to touching anything that they would perceive as their private land.
And Luann, when you send out notification, there is notification where they actually do take a picture of the property, and then they kind of draw literally a red line saying from this point on, this is what's getting impacted. So Rosemary, we try very hard to be as transparent and as exact as possible. And even then, if they still don't understand, Luann's team, there are folks that are available to explain and walk them through it. Process.
I appreciate that. That's a good answer. It's just that I think there was some confusion. Some people who were questioning earlier, how can you put in 2 sidewalks in a 2-way street on the street that I look at every day? I think there was some confusion over that. Okay, that's really the reason I asked the question. I thank you for the explanation. Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you, Rosemary. Maria and Luau, while I recognize in the interest of transparency, and this was a lot that you presented to the committee and to the community this evening, and I know that we're going to have the community outreach meeting, and it's planned for September of this year. But is it possible that you can come back before the summer to do another presentation, so that this way people have had an opportunity to absorb all that you've presented to us, and it will also give individuals you will be further along in your planning, and it will give individuals more time over the summer to fully assess and come to the community outreach presentation with more questions for you to answer, with more and more detailed questions for you to answer.
I want to say yes, we can come back. I think we have to discuss internally, though, whether it makes sense to come back at 40% or at 75%. And also, do we have enough of that information, right, that we don't have today? When we come back, we can actually give you updates. So if that's the timing before the summer hiatus, great. If not, like Luann said September, but she also said fall. So basically what you're trying to say is you would like us to come back and present again prior to the acquisition workshop, yes?
Correct.
Okay.
Ideally before June of this
right.
Of this year. So in 3 months.
We could get back to you on that. I don't want to commit and then we can't do it.
No, that's fair, but I wanted to plant the seed.
Yeah, okay. And the reason why I'm not saying yes, yeah, we can do that. We will come back and we will present again is because I think early on in the presentation, we talked about the fact that there was some additional DEP work that was added, like, literally just a few weeks ago, a month ago before we came today. And that's why the schedule that we're sharing with you tonight is tentative, because it could push back the schedule a bit. So if we could just kind of take a look at that and see where we are as we get closer to June, we can definitely maybe talk around end of May and see where we are. And if everything's pushed back, then that means that the September will probably be maybe the mid-December, I'm just being honest with you. But yeah, if we could look at that and then we'll come back and you know, if it doesn't make sense to do it at the end of the summer and things get pushed back and we come back in September, at least that's still before the workshop. But you know, we don't know for sure if the timeline that we're sharing is still going to be the timeline, you know, come June. So if it changes, we definitely will say, yes, we're going to come back. We're just not sure if it's going to happen in June or is it going to happen in September. So, but
And
we'll
it doesn't,
touch base.
if you're not there, right, and you're pushing the marker, that's fine also, but I still think it's important to have this presentation again.
Okay. All right, no
in
problem.
June if necessary, because there are other people who were unable to attend, who may not have access to Zoom, and we want to give everyone the opportunity to know about what's going on in their immediate surroundings.
Okay, and just so you know, we are going to share this presentation on our website. So again, if there are folks who weren't able to make it tonight, you know, it will be there as well. And they can feel free to reach out and ask questions.
Is proposed June for the property owners or for all the adjacent property owners? Is this for it's like a pre-initial community outreach? Is that what you're requesting?
It can be that, but I'm also requesting that you do this presentation, maybe not as long, but, you know, and touch on some of the more salient points in detail for the community, because there are going to be questions.
Okay, so my acquisition, this is a short, very condensed acquisition slides. The acquisition that I present it's actually much more details as to the actual impact to you know, to the land. I mean, I'll talk to Maria. We can do like we can do a virtual like this, right, to the adjacent community homeowners if to start off with, and then a much more extensive workshop later on. Okay, we can do that. We can on virtually, right? We can do it virtually.
Yes, it would be virtual. Yes, it can be virtual. Yes.
Yeah. So I'll talk to Maria if we can do it.
Thank you. Thank you. I know that we had two more individuals, Suzanne and John Lee. Suzanne, can you please unmute yourself if you still wish to speak, ask a question? Move over.
Not on the arrow.
I know, I got you, but
On the people.
otherwise, here we go.
He's at the top.
Just unmuted.
Oh, hi, sorry.
Okay.
There's one clarification and two short questions. In terms of the vested part of the roadway above, I guess, Independence in green. So that's city-owned. Is that generally mapped to 60 feet in terms of width? And is that what the roadway and the adjoining sidewalks will eventually be, 60 feet wide, or is it smaller than that? Secondly, in this plan, will all the utility currently that are up on poles be buried underground? That is a big issue because there are constantly outages with trees, you know, during storms, tree branches hit them, and they're you know, there must be probably 6 or 7 outages a year. And thirdly, in the current constrictions of the highway with the barriers, it makes it really dangerous. The project will not get underway until I presume in about 2 years. So for the next year and a half or whatever, it is extremely difficult to get down the street, especially since you have buses that come up from up and down from the railroad station. You have the buses from SAR which park there waiting for the kids to come on and off. And you also have times during the year, especially in wintertime, when there are certain areas that are not properly de-iced, especially in front of SAR, where you're obliged to walk into the roadway. So is there going to be any changes before waiting for the main construction events to mitigate the dangers to the pedestrians? Those are my questions.
So you're talking about prior to the construction project, more interim improvements is, because I know
Right, and
DOT put
well,
delineators. I know there were some other, I mean, DOT's here tonight. I don't know if they are
Yes.
able to comment at this time. Okay.
so I mean,
Hi.
yeah, that was in the interim. Is there going to be things that will improve the safety of the pedestrians, particularly, and also of cars going back and forth? Because I don't know if you've ever driven down here, especially during periods when it's very busy with the buses. It is incredibly difficult to get around, and you're stuck. And with people walking by, it is really a very dangerous situation. But that was my third one. The other one was the issue of whether or not the electric lines, the telephone lines will be buried when this in the ground and not on poles with this construction. And the other one was actually how wide will the roadway actually be?
So I'll take the last one. My name is Dorisa Cruz. I'm the Deputy Bronx Borough Commissioner for the New York City Department of Transportation. We installed a temporary pedestrian improvement project in about November of last year, where we included a sidewalk space protected by delineators. I didn't get a chance to comment, but I did hear in the beginning when it was brought to my attention that there are vehicles parking in that space. We will work with NYPD and see if there's anything in-house that we can do to further protect pedestrians. That was a temporary project that we did with SAR. They are maintaining that path for us, so it will be clear of snow and cleaned up by the school. And we're hoping that that is a temporary improvement that will help while we get ready for the capital construction once this project is further along.
In terms of SAR, they've been the main culprits of the problem. In fact, in the entrance to SAR, the big driveway, there are usually cars that are double parked over there, and they have their police or the crosswalk people who do absolutely nothing about that. And so as a pedestrian, you're forced to walk into the roadway. The roadway, the sort of protected roadway is extremely uneven. There are potholes over there, and it becomes impossible, especially in inclement weather, to actually walk on that. You have to walk into the roadway to safely get up and down the road. And the other thing is that with the big buses going up and down from the railroad, it is extremely difficult to get through.
So what I can do is I can commit to reaching out to SAR Academy. They should not be doing that. And we're hoping to be good partners here because we understand that the request came from SAR to try to have a pedestrian path because they were trying to improve the circulation of students coming in and out of the school. So I can reach out to them and try to get them to comply with the pedestrian path that, like I mentioned, they're supposed to be maintaining. It's unfortunate that that's the experience that you've been having with this path that's supposed to provide a safe access for pedestrians.
Thank you. John Lee?
I'll answer that question number one. Can you go back to the street acquisition map again, please? So, so that street is it's mapped 60 feet. Basically, when the city took title to the street, they kind of took it. They took 60 feet on the one end, and then they narrowed it down because they probably didn't want to take portions of the lot at the time. So when we take title to those two red strip, it just kind of like make it all 60 feet. So we're not going further than 60 feet of the street. Since it's mapped 60 feet.
Thank you, Luan. John Lee, do you still wish to speak?
Yes, I do. Good evening. Thanks for
Please
the.
limit your remarks to 90 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for the presentation. Seems very ambitious. I'm looking forward to the improvements. I wish us all really good luck. I'm the property owner at Sycamore and 254th on the southwest side. I have one question and then one request. The first question is the line that you see here in yellow sort of stops at the intersection, but I'm assuming that the actual conditions, for example, the curvature of the sidewalks going on to Sycamore, they continue off 254th. Are you open, or are you also intending to improve the sidewalks that kind of continue into the private roads? That's question number one. And then the second request is, if anybody's been here during these torrential storms, they will acknowledge that the rainwater that's coming down 254th is coming down incredible speed. And I imagine when you improve the streets, it's going to be even worse. So I would ask that you really look at that carefully. You can literally ride a canoe right into the Hudson River from the top of 254th on one of these, rainy nights. And I know there are studies and you can see the sort of rainfall inches, but to actually see it with your own eyes, I think you'll get a very clear picture of how extreme that condition has become. So I would encourage you to really sort of look at that in a very realistic way, because I think erosion is a very big issue at the very end of 254th. And somebody was on here earlier, Peter, who is probably going to comment on how that water gets diverted once you're at the end of 254th, because it shoots over the bridge over the railways. So that's it. Really take a look at that stormwater condition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Steve Fruit, do you have something additional?
I just
Can you
wanted
limit
to
your remarks 1 minute, please?
just very briefly, because someone was discussing earlier the pathway that is there now as a temporary measure. I don't want it to get lost that it is very, very, very uneven in many places right now. It is not safe. In fact, it is safer, in my view, at least my personal preference, to walk in the roadway where it's smoother than along that side, on the side of the bollards or whatever they're called, just because in many spots, it's really broken up. And at night, when there's not, a super amount of lighting in a lot of places, it's really a serious tripping hazard. So what I would urge you to do as a temporary measure is to just smooth out the pathway on the protected path before the next, 2 years roll by, or even the next 6 months, because I do think it's a serious hazard and you are directing people to that space for good reason. That's all.
Thank you for these comments. We'll take a look and see if there's anything we can do in the interim to make it a smoother roadway out there while we wait for the capital project.
Peter Coleman. Mr. Coleman?
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Mr. Coleman, can you
Yes.
please limit your remarks to 60 seconds? And I'm going to hold you to those 60 seconds, please.
No, I appreciate it. I just wanted to reiterate on some of the other comments that I heard from Rosemary and Steve Fruit. How flexible is the design as far as maybe preserving some of those 19th century walls and not making, sidewalk on both sides? I know there's probably federal standards on the width of the street and you have to have 2 sidewalks and everything, but the whole character of the neighborhood is going to change. I also was wondering about the water, I guess. John mentioned that we get tons of water coming down onto we're at the bottom there of 254th Street. There are DEP put in some catch basins that are completely full all the time with gravel and such, and there's more than there's like 5 of them down there, and they're not able to catch that water. And I really hope you can figure out some way of diverting all those, that river that comes down to 54th Street. But that's it. I
Thank you.
would like to know when the planning, how we can work with the plan to make it not totally lose the character of the neighborhood.
Thank you. Appreciate your input.
So I think earlier our designer had mentioned that we do have to go through the Landmark Preservation Commission. So, we're not allowed to just do whatever we want. We do have to go through that approval review process because of the integrity of the historic feel of the community. So there are measures in place to kind of keep to that. So that was discussed earlier on, and yeah, we completely understand. We know that that's very important to the community.
I also want to add that a quick add that I think some of the walls, we will do our best to not touch the walls. I think by summertime, by looking at the design plans, I will be able to look and see what will be impacted and what will not be impacted. But from what I've seen so far, I think most of the walls in that area will not be touched.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we're going to close remarks, and I thank DDC team for your time. And this evening, I look forward to hearing from you regarding the possibility of visiting us again in June, so you can actually present this matter again, and the community can have an opportunity to provide their input. And this is in addition to the planned conference in the fall. Okay, so I thank everyone from DDC. I really appreciate it. We will also post the slide deck that you presented this evening on the CB8 website, so it will give individuals an opportunity to look at it, and I thank you. New York City DOT, if you can remain on the call, that would be helpful. We promise to keep you no more than, well, I shouldn't promise, no more than 10 minutes, but that's the goal. But yes, yes. But
hey, I'm still here.
Okay, thank you, Luan. Thank you, Wing. Thank you, Maria. Thank you. With the committee's permission, I would like to reverse the order on the agenda and bring up old business, since New York City DOT was not on the agenda, but since they're here, I'm going to take this as chairman's opportunity. So at last meeting, and thank you all for showing up this evening to assist your DDC colleagues with this, and Dorisa, very happy to see you. At the last meeting, we had the discussion regarding the Bailey and Van Cortlandt Park South project. One of the concerns that I'm hearing throughout the community is many people within the community are very concerned about traffic, particularly the trucks, the tractor trailers, because making the closing off the slips would present a hardship to many people, because we're envisioning that the tractor trailers will not be able to make those hard turns coming off the highway. And we're also concerned about the flow of traffic between Broadway and Bailey Avenue if the eastbound slip is closed, because there's already the left turn lane there, and if there's a backup on the other, there are only two lanes, one of which is the left turn lane and the other is the eastbound traffic and going up the hill towards Sedgwick. There's a concern that individuals will not be able to navigate it, and the pollution that the extra cars and the extra time that cars and trucks have to be there will impact the community. So has DOT completed its assessment of that area and factored in the concerns that were reported last meeting?
So in terms of the turning radius, we always double check before we implement any sort of change that all vehicles that are appropriate on the roadways that we're taking a look at. So that would be like going from Van Cortlandt Park South to Bailey Avenue would be able to make the proper right turn. I'm assuming that's the slip where we close, that's the movement that you're referring to. So we always check that, and it has passed our turning radius. I'll double check that with our team, and sorry, because I wasn't like totally prepared to talk about this. So I'll double check that. And I do believe that Holly had sent responses if these were the questions that you had sent earlier, where we said also that we had double checked, the turning radius. And then in regards to traffic, we do our best to try not to negatively impact traffic. Of course, this project is for the safety of pedestrians as they're crossing and to shorten the crossings for them. And so the traffic analysis that we did here did not show any major congestion for the community as part of our project. Like I said, I can follow up with more information because I wasn't totally prepared for this question, just to make sure that everything I said is as accurate.
Okay, thank you. And the target for the start of the project, has that shifted?
Yes, so right now, I believe when we presented, we said April, and right now we're looking at May. We always send out what's happening here flyers before any work gets started, so the community board would be advised once we actually have a start date.
Okay, that being said, can we count on DOT to attend next month's meeting since the target date has shifted and give another update on the project?
When you say update, it would just be saying when we're gonna begin?
Right, true deliverables. Also factoring in, I know you all say that you've studied the turning radius, but I can tell you, witnessing buses trying to come off the Deegan South and going eastbound on Van Cortlandt Park South up the hill is a problem, and I've also witnessed tractor trailers trying to navigate that now without these measures being in place. And so I'm envisioning that they will get stuck, or as you know, people will block the box, and it's just going to create more of a bottleneck in the area. And with the bottleneck is going to create more emissions that are coming out, and it's going to impact all of the houses and the buildings that are surrounding.
So I can definitely follow up with this information. The implementation timeline does shift, especially as we get our implementation season going. I'll double check if we have anything else, but we'll definitely follow up via email. And as we get closer, then I can let you know if we're going to be able to make it for the next CBA Transportation Committee meeting. But we'll definitely keep you guys in the loop as we move along. And like I said, I'll follow up as we get closer to the meeting if we're able to attend with any updates.
Thank you, Sylvia Alexander, followed by Chris Calhoun.
I wasn't at the last meeting, so therefore I'm at a disadvantage, but my question is, has the DOT taken into consideration the proposed elementary school where Visitation Church was, which will create, and also a residence with over almost 400 apartments? Is that all taken into consideration as to what this project involves?
Yes, we always look at the land uses, and especially because we see a school coming, we'd like to be able to improve the pedestrian experience for parents and children trying to get to school. Likewise, with any sort of residential development, we would like to encourage people to have a safe access to the park, safe access to schools, safe access to the community.
Go on.
The only thing I have to say is I can see the way it's designed right now becoming the baby sister of West 230th Street, which I can tell you right now is a disaster right now at this hour. It just is. And Sometimes I'll get off the highway just to bypass West 230th because the slip lanes, everything is not long enough. And Van Cortlandt Park South is getting very close to that stage. And exactly what my committee member, Sylvia Alexander said, there's a public school coming in there, there's new housing coming in, it's already clogged. I don't know what my other committee members feel here about this, but I can't go with this as is, and I really think you should study this again. This is a major artery to our neighborhood. We have only 2 exits in this whole community board, West 230th and Van Cortlandt Park South. And if we lose Van Cortlandt Park South, which is also turning into the brother of the Cross Bronx Expressway, I hate to talk about that artery, but I don't know. Give up your cars. I'm just saying, it's just something that, just look at it before you do it. It just, I don't know anymore.
So Chris, are you suggesting or recommending that?
I'm recommending.
I didn't finish my question.
Oh, sorry.
Are you recommending that the committee pass a resolution requesting that DOT
Yes, I
not
am.
proceed with this project until they have completely studied it and come back to the committee and presented the committee with concrete evidence of same? Is that your
Absolutely. Based upon what Sylvia Alexander said, who's the chair of the Education Committee, and other members on this board, I mean, we know what Van Cortlandt Park South holds right now. And I think before this project, and Ms. Cruz said, well, it's not going to be April now, it'll be May. That's right on our doorstep. These months are flying by. And I would really recommend that.
Okay, so
Can I just add a little bit on my presentation? My feeling as to Holly's answer to me is that the project purpose is to make it easier for pedestrians, but we're really adding on vehicular traffic. You can't really, I mean, you have to make some kind of a balance between the two, otherwise you're going to lose either the pedestrians or the vehicles. So
their goal is to lose the vehicles. That's my personal opinion. But
The goal of the Department of Transportation is to improve, make it safer for all roadway users. I just want to highlight that.
About the school and the,
Okay, thank you.
welcome. So Chris had a question on the floor. There's a second to his,
Second it.
does anyone oppose the resolution as presented? Does anyone wish to abstain? Thank you, the motion carries. Okay. Are there any more questions for New York City DOT while we have them?
Actually, but it's old business. May I?
Are you speaking to the intersection at 235th and?
There are 3 things, yeah.
I can,
And that we were denied.
okay, that was my, bless you.
But that really is not satisfactory as far as I'm concerned, and the community shouldn't be satisfied either. 1 woman has been killed, and I don't know how many bodies they want out there in order to do some kind of adjustment. I started with the commissioner at St. Margaret's, and the assistant commissioner was there also. Nothing was ever done. It's 2 years later, and now all of a sudden they've denied it. I don't know that DOT knows the facts. I think that there has to be some other way to address this, whether it be through the 50th precinct, whether it be back in DOT's lap. I almost got hit last night. So I'm not willing to give my life up for this. And I think that it's outrageous that DOT thinks that that's what we have to do. If they put a speed bump there or some other kind of deterrent, whatever it is, but to say no, that really hurts. And I think that's against our community, and we are the community board. We're going to accept that?
Admit.
So it was denied for a traffic signal. It currently has an all-way stop. It sounds like what you're describing is people running the stop signs, right? That's what's happening?
They are, yes, they are, all the time.
Yeah, they do run it all the time.
So
Right through.
So-
And if you're standing at the corner and you're obvious that you want to cross the street, they keep going anyway.
Yep, and they laugh
And
too.
something has to stop them. That stop sign, first of all, is not very visible, and second of all, they don't care.
Well, for visibility, that's something we can take a look at. All we did was put it in for a traffic signal study. We can look and see if there's other items in our toolkit that we could use to try to deter the speeding. I would also recommend reaching out to the precinct for enforcement. Nobody should be running stop signs anywhere. And so what I can do is I can take a look and see if there's visibility issues. We can definitely help with that. And we can also put this in for a speed camera study if you guys are interested in that as well. If the concern is also speeding, because it sounds like vehicles are probably not stopping because they're going so fast. But ultimately all of these are enforceable by NYPD. And it didn't meet the traffic signal warrants because the volumes were too low. We use federal warrants in order to determine where traffic signals go.
One person losing their lives is not enough?
I'm sorry?
You say the
One what?
numbers are low.
The volumes are low.
traffic.
The volume,
Traffic.
the traffic
Traffic.
volumes.
Speaking
In
to
order
traffic.
to install a traffic signal, it has to meet federal warrants. I can send the community board what those warrants are. But unfortunately it didn't meet that, but it does have always stop signs, which is already, so it's already supposed to be stop controlled on all the legs. If people are not abiding by the stop signs, then that is an NYPD enforcement issue.
Is there a
Nobody should be running
possibility
stop
that
signs.
Right. Is there a possibility, which I did once before with the previous commissioner, to do a walkthrough, because I live right on that block, and I would like to meet somebody from DOT and explain exactly what I feel?
Of course, yeah,
what
we can definitely head out there if the community board wants to send us maybe some dates and times that would work. Happy to go out there and take a look with you on site.
Thank you.
Did you have another go ahead, Farrah.
The other,
Hold on,
Thing
Sylvia.
about this, is a speed bump, warranted here? Can they
They'll
look into
fly right
that?
over it.
Said that she would look into
Fly right over it.
We can put in for a speed hump study as well, if I just suggested speed camera, but we can look at speed humps or speed cameras. We wouldn't put both, but we could do either or.
Close them down, much better.
Thank you. Ms. Noy, can you please limit your remarks to 1 minute, please?
I've waited 2 hours and 5 years. In reviewing the minutes from the last meeting, when 3616 Henry Hudson Parkway presented, and I'm glad DOT is here, it stated that we had a no standing sign put in on Netherland Avenue, and we were requesting a no parking sign. That is completely wrong. I sent you a 32-page presentation with a summary, and obviously somebody missed the mark here. We had alternate parking sign between the two driveways. That was removed, and we're now 5 years out from starting this argument. They took out the alternate parking sign, and there's no legal parking there because there's a hydrant in the middle. They put a no standing sign on Henry Hudson Parkway. There was no request for that. That was removed, and we still don't have any answer as to whether a no standing or no parking sign at any time is going to be placed between these two driveways. And as Sylvia said, a woman was killed on 236th Street because of traffic. But Netherland Avenue is used as a bypass to Henry Hudson Parkway because of the amount of traffic, buses, trucks, and everything else. So coming out of the driveway, you're taking your life in your hands because there's no visibility. And cars come up the middle of Netherland Avenue, even though it's a two-way street, at a good 40-mile-an-hour clip. And the fact that nobody has died there is a miracle at this point. So I would ask, number one, that the minutes be corrected, since the information that was posted is completely incorrect. I also, for the board, I never even got an acknowledgement that your request for the packet was received. I sent you a note asking, was it received? And I've had crickets. I don't know if DOT was notified. I don't know if there's any further discussion. Chris Calhoun came.
Ms. Noy, may I please stop you for a moment, because you're making many incendiary statements and they're not true, because the packet was received and you did receive an acknowledgement. At least I know that I was copied on an acknowledgement to the package. And also, we will amend the minutes to reflect that it's a no standing sign and not no parking. And we also, DOT also did review the matter, and they determined that there's enough, that they will not make the change, and that with the mirrors that are coming out of the driveway, it provides ample sight for you. Teresa, can you comment on that? I know that Holly, someone sent
the mirrors that are on the garage are for pedestrian people walking on the sidewalk, so we don't hit anybody. It has nothing to do with the traffic. And coming out of the driveways, with being cramped in like that, we cannot see cars coming up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We've heard your request, and I would like to give DOT an opportunity to speak to the matter.
Sure. So we don't sign driveways, and when we went out there to take a look, it looked like there was already a hydrant there, so people shouldn't be parking there regardless. Even if we were to, even if we had decided to put a sign, unless NYPD comes to enforce, if nobody's obeying the fire hydrant, then they're probably not going to obey the sign either. It sounds like an enforcement issue. And so ultimately, we don't sign driveways, and this location in particular has a hydrant, so nobody should be parking there anyways.
Well, if the packet that I sent to okay, we had previously been approved when Mr. Paternak was on the board. When the gentleman who was the head of the traffic, the DOT for our area or the Bronx, was moved to another location, the person who came in to replace him went and rescinded the approval. So I don't understand how that happened. And the packet also, I showed 3 different locations that have no standing any time signs right at the edges of their driveway on 239th Street.
I wasn't familiar with this history, so if the board could forward me the package, I'll take a look at it and see if there's anything that we can do. But I do know that usually as policy, we don't sign driveways. But I can double check because I didn't know about this history.
Well, if the board could forward.
Thank you. Ms. Noy, unfortunately, given the hour, we're going to have to stop you because we have more business to conduct. Okay? Thank you. Ms. Sylvia, did you have any additional questions for DOT?
Well, one was 3660, and the other one was Windsor. Was that taken care of? I know that there was
Windsor. They did the walkthrough at Windsor, and they also sent in requests to, what is it, Farah, 311? They have the complaint numbers there, and they're being reviewed right now. Okay?
Not being shelved for 2 years.
Being reviewed. They're being reviewed. That's all I can say is they're being reviewed. I don't know anything about being shelved. I like to give direct answers, so they're being reviewed, okay?
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, DOT. I appreciate your time this evening, Teresa.
No problem.
Farrell
Thanks
will
for
forward
having
you the
us.
packet tomorrow, and I will speak with you all soon. Thank you. Going back to the agenda, moving to the agenda, David Gelman, you wanted to discuss the budget, the capital and expense priorities?
Not so much discuss it, but,
Okay, give us our walking papers. for
well, I mean,
next meeting.
the discussion was to occur in February, and then the preliminary prioritization was to occur tonight. I think, I was not here last month, so was there a consensus of opinion about the capital priorities and expense priorities last month?
Let's take a step back, because during the board meeting last week, you mentioned that we were limited in the number of things.
I was gonna get to that next, yeah.
Okay, so our list is vast. As you know, as someone who's been on TNT for some time, there are many issues
Right.
that need to be addressed.
Okay.
And so how do we proceed
To
with that,
end,
with
as
Great.
you may recall at the board meeting, what I said was, we got marching orders basically from the Borough President's office that we are to forward from the whole community board 10 capital priorities and 5 expense priorities, which means that really each of our 10 committees should only submit 1 of each. Okay, that's not realistic, but maybe 2 or 3. Certainly no more than 5, and I believe the list is far greater than 5. So, with that in mind, the committee really should be focusing on 2 or 3 for capital priorities and expense priorities. And I know it's a late hour. I'm wondering if it might be worth just flashing them up for 20 seconds so to remind people, and then maybe getting back to you with individual emails of priorities within the week.
Well, what I will commit to doing, because now I'm looking through my bag and I don't believe in doing that at the same time, is I can send the committee, if the committee has to commit to doing this though, because David needs it right after our meeting
Next month.
in April, right?
Like
So he has
the next
to,
day.
like literally the next day. So we can send over the list of priorities, and with the preliminary ranking based on what we discussed, David, you know that the step streets are always a problem, and we always have issues getting funding for those, and that's critical for us. So I know that last year it was suggested, actually last 2 years, it was suggested that we lump them all into one bucket, and that does not seem to have helped.
Yeah.
So what do we do? Because we can't really prioritize the steps. If someone falls down those steps,
Well, we actually addressed it in our cover letter for fiscal 25 that the mayor, distributed, and then we responded to the borough president, and she sent it in to the mayor, and the stuff will come out in May and June to be actually implemented as a new budget July 1st. But it basically said the Bronx is different because we have a very different topography, particularly our district. There are other areas that have some step streets, but our district has a lot. So there's a need for the city to take a different view. I'm sort of saying take it out of our budget priorities.
Okay.
And say, look, there needs to be some sort of plan from the city to address step streets.
Okay.
If that being the case, then the other priorities should be focused.
Okay.
Yes. And again, preferably 2 or 3. It should not be more than 5. And in about a month or so, we're gonna talk about, well, what to do with the rest of them.
Right.
Maybe like they would become our starting list for conversations in September with the agencies. But for now, for right now, and for next month, for a prioritization vote, it should be 2 or 3 capital priorities and 1, maybe 2 expense priority, other than step streets. We're gonna try to lock that separately.
Okay, because that's a critical piece of, you know, what we, a critical portion of what we request every year. And, you know, for them to say, no funding, no funding, no funding, it's.
It really shouldn't be our burden.
Right.
The person that falls.
Right, we did mention the potential for litigation in our response letter. So,
To expound on what you said, and I think you know the answer to this, does this board, do we have the most step streets in all of the Bronx? I think we do.
I believe so.
Okay.
But,
Well,
and I
in-
think
in
by
ad-
a
in ad-
far
Right,
margin.
in addition to that, I walked with, Mary Ellen Gibbs, that 235th Street overpass. 235th, that's what I said. Okay, whatever I said. Okay, kid, yeah, okay. That's in disastrous shape too, if you wanna call that, it's not a step street, it is a step across. I mean, I tried to come up when you put this budget out several years ago and everything. I don't just want something like, oh, well, he wants it because it's right down by his block. No, I looked around for stuff, and I just do, because we care as a board about all of Board 8. And, I think it'll be very interesting what we, chisel this down to, based upon what you said. Because I don't want to put stuff on there that's going to be a waste of time, that we don't, and you being on this committee is going to be very vital, like, to look at that and go, oh, you kidding me? This ain't gonna, forget it.
Well, it's funny you should say
I mean, I just want to know that, because then we'll slip something else in.
Well, and that's what I wanted to get to. Fixing that overpass, the pedestrian overpass, is $5 million.
Well, it's a big patch job. Okay.
Well, hang on a second. And it's sort of like the Bailey Avenue playground, which was the top priority of everything for years, and went nowhere. Till the council member and our new council overlay, Sanchez, they're starting to find pockets of money and taking it off the park's plate, okay? And I think that's what's gonna happen with that overpass, because you can't just fix the ramps.
Right.
Because it was built before ADA, it's gonna have to be literally twice as long. And that's gonna be $5 million, and that's not gonna be a budget
So
priority.
it's not gonna happen.
Unless we start pressing, Eric and Jeffrey and Gustavo. Cause it's an off-budget item, you know what I mean? They're not gonna address it via our, capital requests. But it doesn't mean it shouldn't be addressed. I would not put it in the top 5.
All I want to say is, I just want to get this down to, if anyone's against me, that's fine. I want to get down to, based upon what the budget chair said, realistic items that we really think have a good chance of being paid attention to.
Well, they're all realistic items.
I know they are, but I mean,
realistic items.
but
If you think about, and I say this because, right, if you think about what DOT presented to us last month, right? What did their slide say? It was originally requested in 2016, right? So they're all realistic measures, but everyone is going to say that they don't have the money. And so that's really what we're up against. And it's going to happen, I think, in greater numbers this year, given the crisis that the city is in.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, David.
I am certain of one thing, it's not a $400,000 repair. It's a $5 million,
because it's
five.
over the highway
Complete replacement.
also, right?
Complete-
Because
well,
they had,
actually, the crossover might be salvageable.
Okay.
But the ramps,
Well, they painted it recently.
I know.
It's nice.
I know, I actually talked to a couple of guys, they said,
Mhm.
it's in pretty good health.
Well, there you go.
So, no, it's a $5 million project to replace those ramps under ADA, which has other implications because where do you exit on both sides relative to traffic?
Five people fall, that'd be $5 million apiece, and that'll be $5 million for the
Mhm.
overpass.
So that's my guess,
Well-
my observation over the years.
okay, so additional items, we've discussed the step streets, we're going to make that a separate item, right?
Yes, and press me and Julie and Farah to write something up about that. I think it's important that we take it off budget and press, probably the borough president to say, hey, this is a key matter because our topography is different from everybody else.
Right, exactly what we just
Okay.
said.
And then the Broadway corridor, particularly coming off the Deegan,
I'm sorry, what was the question? About the Broadway corridor?
that was listed here as suggestions for the budget, for the budget.
Right.
expenses. So it's the Broadway corridor coming off the Deegan. So that's the traffic coming off of 230. I think Chris discussed this earlier in the meeting.
But that wasn't my, I did bring that up, but that wasn't my, budget item. I think that was a thing where it was a whole parking study. Am I wrong on this? The Broadway corridor, to restudy the parking situation there?
To restudy moving it.
Yeah, there was
You
a
asked them
study.
to study, you asked them to study when you come off the highway and you make that turn, if something can be done because it's so crazy to.
Coming off the highway from
It's so crazy maneuvering coming off, like where Broadway is, everybody's trying to get into 230th Street at the same time from every which way.
So it is what you discussed earlier.
Well, that's what I
That's what
said
that-
tonight, yes,
right,
it is. It's
okay.
terrible.
So,
But that too is probably not capital, that's probably
That wasn't-
traffic lights, right? I mean, and that's the thing you can ask at DeRissa, you know, there's a problem. And there is one small problem that I've been trying to address, is the goddamn post office trucks on Broadway.
I saw them on News 12, this
Oh, is that right?
They were right on there.
They're all the time, and years ago, I brought it up.
Renee Luciano from DOT is still on.
Oh, right. Renee, you may want to listen to this, but I brought it up years ago, and Congressman Engel put the pressure on the U.S. Postal Service to move their trucks. And the big problem is they park there overnight. They're just too lazy to go around the corner because they have a parking lot right behind them. But I asked Farah about it, and she tried to bring it to DOT, who said it's an NYPD thing, and
it's going to be good. It's going to be an inspection service thing also because it involves the postal vehicles, just so you're aware.
Okay.
It's a federal agency, so
Right.
they have certain.
Actually,
regulations.
Marion, it's not budget.
not budget.
Let's just
Right.
bump that off.
You're right.
I got it at 5 o'clock in the morning, Mark.
Yeah. So it's really not a budget item. It's
Okay.
another thing that
The Broadway
we can talk
corridor,
with
you're saying
Mr.
budget?
Luciano.
I would get rid of that right now,
The
too.
Broadway corridor?
I want to
I'm
keep it
asking the
concise.
question.
I'll
Are you
forego that.
Okay.
I'll forego it.
I'm just trying to.
I really enjoy the Broadway corridor. I love it.
Particularly when you're driving a 14-foot truck, right?
And then Step Street.
And then I ripped the roof off underneath the L.
Go ahead, I'm listening, Chris.
I have nothing more to say.
All right,
Well, next item, or there was something else you were?
There are other key items. You've seen the list that were briefly discussed last month. Were there anything that really popped out for you that we should?
It doesn't really matter because we can't put it on anyway.
Yeah, we can, but Kelly's gonna be competing with the chair of
Right, so-
education, with the chair of parks.
So that's what she's saying, it's not gonna get on there, so why?
No, that's not what I just said, okay? That, bringing these priorities forward from the committee.
But we cannot bring that many, you know,
But
even though we can't,
I just get furious. I just get furious. First of all, I mean, this has nothing to do with TNT, but the fact is that according to the charter, we have to do this. That involves OMB. Now the borough president has said we can only do a few of these and a few of those. She doesn't give us any money. Why are we doing that?
Because she's the one who's submitting it on behalf
Of
of
the community
all the
boards.
community boards, priorities for the borough. We have
It's not
committee,
working with the community organizations, because if I send a letter out to my schools and they respond, now I'm gonna tell them, well, we can't even, try to get money for you. Why would they even do that?
but
Why am I wasting my time in order to get, priorities, and then there's not even a place to send it? Not even, aside from the fact that there's no money.
Sylvia, you're making a leap of logic there, saying it can't happen. It's definitely frustrating, it's definitely limited.
Will
and that-
you tell me how it could be?
It could be that CPH says that doing X is our top priority. And it has been, coincidentally, that the Bailey Avenue Playground was our top priority for years. And it went nowhere with Park. We don't have the money. Go ask your council member. And then there were conversations in the background with the two council members, and all of a sudden, they're getting very serious about it. So in the same vein, I mean,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the hour is late. That is one item,
I know,
okay?
but
I
that's-
have
that's
over
an
30
example.
schools.
I know, but that's an example, Sylvia.
It's not an example for
And-
me.
But to be
You're
fair,
wasting your
Sylvia,
time on me. Just do whatever you have to
To be
do.
fair, you've been very successful with Eric to get certain allotments, which is great.
But only because it was listed. Now there's no place to list it. I didn't send my list to Eric. He looked at the OMB, priorities.
No, I think he looked at our CB8 priorities.
He didn't get two lists, he only got one list.
Okay.
They took our list that we submitted to OMB, and the elected officials looked at it also. Then they used their discretionary money to fund some of them. This is not going to be able to be handled that way, because the borough president says we only take 3.
No, that's not anything.
That's what you're saying.
No,
Am
that's
I
not what I said at all.
understanding?
Yes, you are.
Clear it up.
Okay, what I said was, the borough president is taking 10 capital priorities and 5 expense priorities from the community board, okay? Which means that we as a board will have to vote on that, of what those priorities are, and I am suggesting that each committee only send 2 or 3 forward.
We have 12 committees split into 10.
No, we have 10 operating committees.
We have 10 operating committees, at least one,
Already had these.
at least
Sometimes it'll be 0, but they are the priorities of the
believe I
community.
know.
And,
but you're not being clear on what you're thinking, because
Okay.
if there are only 10 items that we can, put as our for the whole community board, right? That's only one from every committee.
No, it's not necessarily, it could be 3 from one and another, right? That's what they're saying,
it's
so
the community priorities based
You
on.
mean we're pitting each other, against each other?
Welcome to
In
the real
effect-
world.
in effect, yes. In effect, yes.
And why is that?
Because we are limited to 10.
We're limited in resources.
But really,
room we can.
You accept it because you don't have a committee.
No, hang on a second. No, well, my job is to shepherd the voices. Okay, that's my only job, is to shepherd all these voices and realize that we don't have a budget. There is no CB8 budget.
I'm well aware of it. I've been on the board a long
Okay.
time.
Okay, so our role.
You're
Okay.
yelling. Thank you.
We do not have a budget. I've said this every single year, I also think.
You don't have to tell me, I have been on the board, I
Okay.
know that.
All right, but that is our only choice. Our only choice is to submit to the borough president, and the, agencies via OMB, our priorities. Not our demands, because we don't have demands. Not our budget, because we don't have a budget. But our priorities that we are requesting. And yeah, we are going cup in hand. And that's all that we are allowed to do.
But we are going into the community and asking for their priorities. Because they're not our priorities, they're their priorities, in my case.
Right.
And now we're saying, well, forget about that because we can only use one.
No, we're not saying forget about it.
I'm not soliciting 30 schools in order to give you one.
I'm not, I have yet to say.
And not only that, but it would be a unfair situation as far as diversity or race or anything like that, because you know that the schools in Riverdale will respond quicker than the ones in the South Bronx. Okay? So the poor people are never going to get anything at all. I mean, why is that a correct way of handling it?
I never said it was correct. All I'm saying is the only thing that we're allowed to do. We have no legal.
Please don't lecture me, please.
Okay, then I don't know where else.
I'm not going to change my mind, so.
Okay.
Okay,
and I can't change the
okay,
process.
so since everyone is getting a bit testy because the hour is late, right? I'm going to, call the question. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
Wait a minute, I have
Yes.
something. I have something. It's not a biggie.
Yes.
It's not a biggie.
Okay.
Just wanted to let you know, and I'm wondering if this could get turned into something that would be favorable to Sylvia Alexander, and it came to me after DOT left. A new traffic light is being installed at 231st and Godwin Terrace, next to my favorite pizza place, Sam's.
Okay.
I don't know what that's gonna do there. I could see it being better served at 235th and where.
That's not a budget priority.
No, I know it's not a
Oh, okay.
budget, I'm just saying, it's just
Okay.
something that came to my mind and I
Okay,
wanted to
okay,
bring it up.
Okay. But in terms of wrapping up this discussion, I'm sorry, Chris.
No, that's okay.
Because she's anxious to let people go.
Because I don't want to hear the yelling, because we're fighting, we all want the same thing, and we all want
We're
what's
fighting
best
in the
for the
same
community.
direction.
Right, we all want the best for the community, but we also have to recognize that this process is long. If you think about what we're being asked to do, being asked to give 26 budget, fiscal year 26 budget recommendations, right? That's a long way off. Things can change, and there's nothing that precludes us from putting whatever we think is a priority, if it has not been done in 25, for fiscal year 25, we can put it on there again. There are many matters, like it or not, and it's unfortunate that it has to be this way, but there are limited resources. And so things that the powers that be push this to the side because they say there isn't enough money here. And this is not uncommon in any organization. Corporations do this all the time, right? And we have to be mindful of that, but we should not be discouraged in what we're asking, because it's not only about for today, it's about for tomorrow. It's about 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, right? And we have to consider those things. And yes, it's painful, and sometimes it feels as though no one really appreciates the things that we're asking for, or they don't understand, but it's also up to us to continue to fight for it. And unless we continue to do that, then the powers that be are going to continue to say, no, you can only give us this. And we have to look at this from the city as a totality, the city as a whole, right? There are a number of things. People have been asked to cut their budgets to get rid of people to make the city hit their bottom line. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is right now, and that's how we have to think. So I don't want anyone to think that we're not paying attention or that your request is not important. Everyone's request is important, but we also have to operate within the confines of what the directive we were given by the borough office, the borough president, who is responsible for submitting budgets on behalf of community boards. Okay? That's all I would like to say, and with that,
Can I have 30 seconds, please?
you have 15 seconds, and I mean 15 seconds.
It's not my budget, I just want to remind you that. Secondly, so is the plan that we are going to take the list that you have and return them to you, say, this week, with our individual priorities?
Yes, you will
Okay.
return it to me, not this week. I will probably say, I will give everyone 2 weeks. From the day I send it out, I will give you 2 weeks to return it to me, so then I can put them on the sheet and rank them, and then at the April meeting, we will then make our list of priorities and submit it to the budget chair for consideration, and then the budget chair, along with the district manager and the board chair, will then review all of them and then make a prioritization list for the entire community board.
For further
For further discussion, but it's the recommendation to the community board that this would be submitted for fiscal year 26 on behalf of the community board, okay? I don't want people to leave here discouraged. Okay, I am tired as well.
It is a whittling process.
Okay, so the most all right, thank you. 9:35. I don't know, who was taking minutes today?
You took more than I did.
Thank you. You can end the call, Mary Ellen.
Thank you, Renee.
That's why I have to sleep.